Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing why is my dumper silent? I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing, why is my dumper silent? So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, one of the biggest questions that you're likely to have is, why is my dumper silent? In today's podcast, I give 3 reasons why your ex, the dumper, may be silent after a breakup. So let's get straight into this. And point number 1 is the single honeymoon period. So the single honeymoon period is the experience that somebody goes through after they end a relationship. So let's first think back to when both of you were in a relationship, when you were loved up, when you were feeling that everything was going well, and both of you was enjoying the relationship for what it was back then. At this time, both people were feeling a high level of romantic emotional attraction for one another. Now, for various potential reasons, this level has unfortunately dropped for the person who decided to end the relationship. And when it hit that necessary low point, this is when they actioned the breakup. Okay, so somebody ends a relationship when they are feeling a low level of romantic emotional attraction. And this connects with the fact that they no longer feel fulfilled in this connection, and they don't believe that continuing on this relationship path will give them fulfillment or satisfaction long term. Now, this doesn't mean this is how they're going to feel forever. Of course, this wasn't how they felt a while back. A while ago, they were in love with you and you were together in a long-lasting, loving relationship, no doubt. And this is when both of you were feeling a high level of romantic emotional attraction for one another. And this also doesn't mean that they can't get to that point again. So back then, back in the past, they was feeling high attraction, and who knows, in the future, you may reconnect and they might feel high attraction once more. But at this time, during the breakup, as we look at the aftermath, the relationship has ended, and the person who ended the relationship is the dumper, and they ended that relationship because their level of attraction has dropped, and they did not see a fulfilled future on this relationship path. So the single honeymoon period is the period of time after the breakup. Now, there isn't a set period of time, but what I would suggest is that it will likely last a number of months up to a year. This is the period of time where somebody is starting to experiment with a new life path. They're starting to experiment with a life that they didn't feel they could have during the relationship. Now, this might be something obvious. This might be dating new people. Okay, you're not going to be able to do that within a relationship. But it could be something more subtle. It could be spending more time with their friends. It could be going to hobbies, clubs, groups, classes, things which they didn't have time to do within the relationship, or things that they felt their partner judged them for doing or didn't want them doing. Okay, so somebody going through the single honeymoon period is living their best life to what they believe they couldn't do within the relationship. Now, the interesting thing about the single honeymoon period is it is just a period of time. And once this gets out of their system, once they have lived the life they want to for a while, the new becomes old, the exciting becomes boring, and all of the things they craved start to feel a bit more mundane. And this is when somebody will start to self-reflect and potentially reach out to their ex in the future. But I'm not going to be dwelling on that element in today's podcast. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, and check out all of my other videos and podcasts where I've explained more in depth on those types of subjects. But for now, we are actually asking the question, why is my dumper silent? And hence, when we look at the single honeymoon period, we can understand this is one of the reasons why your ex-dumper is silent. Because they are living a life which is, generally speaking, quite full on. Most people who end a relationship jump straight into a different section of their life. They are moving into new classes, groups, clubs. They're moving into spending time with friends. They're moving into parties, clubbing, all of these things which maybe they didn't do so much or at all in the relationship, they're now experiencing. And as a dumpee, this might seem scary, but you have to understand they need to go through this. Your only chance of getting your ex back is to allow your dumper to live this life and then to begin to miss you. But when they are going through the single honeymoon period, they are likely to be silent. They are unlikely to be reaching out to their dumpee because the relationship has ended and they are now living this life busy, busy, busy. It doesn't mean it is going to give them forever satisfaction. It doesn't mean that they're going to meet a new forever partner. Most people that meet somebody new soon after a breakup, probably up to a year or so, are very unlikely to have a long-term, long-lasting relationship. And this is because it's so hard to find a long-term compatible partner. So if you meet somebody soon after a breakup, what are the odds that they are also going to be a long-term compatible partner just after you've got out of a long-term relationship? It's very unlikely. It's more likely that you're going to find out that this is a short-term connection that doesn't work. And this is why we call this rebound relationships. I've done many podcasts on this subject, so please don't be fearful as a dumpee. But you've got to understand that your ex-dumper, one of the reasons why they're probably not reaching out to you initially is because they're going through the single honeymoon period. Now, of course, there is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back. There's no guaranteed way to get your ex to contact you. And some dumpees, unfortunately, will never hear from their ex-dumper again. But these are in the minority. Most dumpees will hear from their ex-dumper again, providing they present themselves in the best possible way, they do enough of the right things, and they allow their ex-dumper to go through the single honeymoon period because they need to live this life. They need to get this out of their system, you might say, and if and when they do, there is a great chance they will reach out to their ex-dumpee. Now, this doesn't mean the dumpee has to respond positively or respond at all. You might get contact from your ex-dumper and think, I don't want to be back with you. Or I've met somebody even better. Or why are you contacting me now? After all this time. You might not want to get this contact and you don't have to receive it. Okay? What I'm saying is you're likely to hear this one day. It doesn't mean you have to put up with it. You have your own life to live. You might meet somebody better. You might not want to hear from your ex in months or years to come. But ultimately, if you do everything right as a dumpee, you stand every opportunity of hearing from your ex again. But during the single honeymoon period, your dumper is likely to be silent. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about why is my dumper silent? And point number 2 is not wanting to lead you on. So point number 2 is very important because we have to understand that most dumpers do not want to hurt their dumpee. Most people who end a relationship feel terrible about hurting their now ex. They don't want to hurt their former partner. Most dumpers do care for their dumpee to a certain level in a certain way, but not romantically at that time. And therefore, a dumper is going to be very careful not to hurt their dumpee further from this point onwards. So when somebody ends a relationship, they know that they have caused a lot of pain, anguish and confusion in their now ex's mind. And most dumpers don't want to continue this. Most dumpers don't want to prolong this pain. And therefore, unless they have regrown enough romantic emotional attraction, most dumpers don't want to reach out to their dumpee because they don't want to lead them on. They don't want to confuse them. They don't want to give them the wrong impression. So a dumper might be silent, not because they hate their dumpee, not because they don't even miss their dumpee, but because at the moment they only feel platonic feelings for their dumpee and they don't want to leave them on. They don't want to give them the wrong impression. They don't want their ex-dumpee to think, oh, my ex-dumper has messaged me, we're getting back together. If a dumper doesn't feel ready to get back together, if a dumper doesn't feel ready that this is what they want to do right now, They are unlikely to reach out without giving it a lot of thought. Now, this doesn't mean that every dumper who does reach out does want to reconnect. Unfortunately, there are some dumpers who will reach out but are only offering platonic friendship. And if you're a dumpee, you receive this contact, you need to be making sure that you want what your ex is offering. If you also only want platonic friendship, then that's fine. But if you get contact from your ex per dumper and they're offering you platonic friendship, please don't try to think, well, I'll say yes, I'll pretend I want friendship, but then I'll escape through the back door, you might say, and try to get into a relationship. This is very unlikely to work. And more likely, you'll be friend-zoned and you'll be very unlikely to escape that at that time. So, if you are an ex, if you are a dumpee, you receive contact from your dumper and it seems platonic, you need to genuinely consider whether you want that back. If you do, then fine. If you don't, then I don't suggest you have an active platonic friendship with anybody that you have romantic feelings for. It's just going to get you hurt further down the line. So don't do that if you have that opportunity. Please be careful with your own heart as well as others. And that's why I say to dumpers, if you're listening, please only contact your ex per dumpee if you're really starting to feel some level of missing them in a more romantic sense. Because if and when you do reach out, dumpees are going to get excited, especially if a dumpee wants to get their ex back, they're going to get excited. So that's why we have to consider that most dumpers will not do this. Most dumpers do not want to hurt their ex. And that is why another reason as for why a dumper is silent after a breakup is because they don't want to lead their dumpee on. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about why is my dumper silent. And point number 3 is recovery. So I think it's so important that we end today's podcast with a final point of recovery to really get across the fact that although lots of dumpees consider their ex per dumpers as being almost narcissists and doing things because they want some unrealistic level of connection, the truth is a lot of people end relationships, not only, as I said earlier, because they want to experiment on a new path because they're not feeling fulfilled, but some people, some dumpers, become dumpers because they have been hurt. We have to consider that relationships are ended due to bad behaviour from the dumpee. Okay, not all the time. I am trying to make sure I don't generalise too much across this podcast. That's why I'm trying to give you different perspectives so you can see where you fit in. But there are lots of dumpers who end relationships due to bad behaviour of dumpees. But dumpees are not always the inverted commas innocent party. Let's say, for instance, you cheated on your partner and then you were dumped. Okay, is the dumper the bad person in that situation? How would you judge that? Okay, there is sometimes a perception online where the dumpee is the good person and the dumper is the bad person. But let's look at why. Let's look at why the romantic emotional attraction was lost. If you were cheated on, then you're going to lose attraction. You're going to feel incredibly hurt. That is why you may end a relationship. What about if your partner was spending money that wasn't there? What if your partner was terrible with money, getting you both into debt? Maybe you feel that you can't continue on this journey and you're incredibly hurt. Maybe your trust has been destroyed by the behaviour of this person and you therefore end the relationship. And hence, one of the reasons why a dumper may be silent is because they are recovering. They might not want to speak with you because they are so hurt at your behaviour. Now, this isn't the case with all dumpees, every situation is different, but we have to cover this possibility, we have to cover this fact that some dumpers don't reach out because they are recovering. And some dumpers will never regrow enough romantic emotional attraction because they have been hurt so badly. It's not due to any kind of narcissistic desire to live some type of unrealistic life necessarily. It could be because they believe that they should be treated better by their partner, and they have been treated badly, cruelly, however you want to look at it. If somebody treats their partner in a way so bad that they lose attraction in the relationship, why would they want to reach out? Why would a dumper want to reach out to their dumpee who has hurt them so badly? Now, this doesn't mean they won't do. Okay, if you have treated your partner badly, if you did cheat on them and they dumped you, it doesn't mean you won't hear from your ex again, but you must give them time. And you must understand that it's not a guarantee that you'll hear from them again. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but it's up to them, it's not up to you. But this is one of the main reasons as for why a dumper will not reach out to their dumpee, because they are recovering. Okay, they ended the relationship, but they are the hurt party in this. Okay, they might have ended the relationship, but they are not the person who is feeling as much hurt. You might be feeling bad, you might be feeling guilty, you might be feeling sad the relationship is over, but they've ended it because you've hurt them. Okay, so if you are in this boat, if you have done something that you know caused the breakup in this way, one of the reasons why your ex-dumper isn't contacting you is because they need to go through recovery. And this could take weeks, months, years. They might never get through this to the point of whether they want to reach out to you, but they might, okay? I can't tell you for certain. Nobody can tell you for certain. The only person who will ever know is your ex-dumper. And if they do want to reach out to you, then they will. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.